Thank you. Oh, you're good. I'm just going to be more central.
Which one is that one? Thank you.
It's a great version. Y'all can go ahead and share the live stream. That's a real yes. Right.
She's Andrew.
Okay.
You Leah.
Right.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the one I always play. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy to be here in Marion County tonight. My name is Jenny Ashley, and I'm serving as the campaign manager for SC Forward Together. I just want to welcome you all to this amazing event. Thank you, Miss Miko Pickett, for putting this together for us. So we're going to start off with our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The brave.
And at every event, I'd like to thank Beyonce for joining us for our national anthem. We love having her. Thank you so much, Queen Bee. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. There are some cards on your chairs. If you'd like to join our team on our website, There are donation envelopes, so if you feel like tonight's message resonates with you, we're encouraging you to donate $5, $10. Every dollar goes towards contacting delegates, traveling the state. We are on a tour this week, and then all throughout the next few months, we'll be going to all 46 counties to make sure that the entire state hears the message. So without further ado, we're going to start with our first speaker of the evening, and that is Miss Miko Pickett.
Hello guys. Thank you so much, Democrats, for tuning in on Facebook or being here in person. We know that it is very important for us to use our voices. And I am so excited to be able to introduce or welcome my friend Brandon Upson, who is running for chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party. Brandon is the only candidate that has wholeheartedly has my support. Best believe that. And let me tell you, in my opinion, just real quick, 2 seconds, why it matters and why I really wish that this room was packed out with Marion County Democrats, right? Marion County is 60% African American. The Democratic Party in South Carolina is 70% African American. Let me tell you, I go to a lot of these kind of events. I sit in a lot of these kind of meetings. I attend a lot of these Zoom calls. I do not see 70% of us. So if we're not seeing 70% African American and know nothing about my white brothers and sisters, we appreciate you. We appreciate your activism. We appreciate you showing up. But it's time for black people to show up. Amen. So, I want you to imagine for a minute. Imagine if the 70% of us that represent the Democratic Party, we go, we vote every election, and we pull deep. Imagine if the 70% of us were to show up at Democratic Party meetings. Imagine if the 70% of us would do our best to either be a delegate or to make sure that the delegate that's representing them knew what their issues were, understood the importance of making sure that we elect candidates that are going to push a $15 an hour minimum wage, that are going to allow us to do what we need to do with our own bodies as females, and not the state to make the decision for us. Imagine if in rural America, in Marion County, if the 70% of us would elect a candidate who elect a chairman who would represent the Democratic Party, who knows Marion County. Yeah. Somebody who comes here. He didn't have to come. And I believe we're one of the first stops. Okay? He could be in Richland where this room would be packed. But he cares about Marion County. All right? So what I need for you Democrats that may be passing by this on Facebook, I thank everybody for coming. But if you're passing by this on Facebook, please get involved. Now is the time. Brandon and his team, they're going to lay out some information for you, how you should get involved and why it matters. I'm just asking for you all to please listen and let's go to work. Y'all ready to go to work? Yeah. Awesome. So thank you so much, Geren.
Our next speaker is Miss Kelly Williams.
Fired up?
Ready to go!
Fired up?
Ready to go!
When I hear that slogan, I only think about one person. That is Brandon Upson. This man, since I met him years ago. I was an organizer on the ground with LaShonda and with Brandon with the Time Star campaign. And I never met this man a day in my life. And he entered the room for our meeting. And just his energy, his drive, his passion, his heart. The man knew what he was talking about. He had the numbers in hand. Mm-hmm. He had the strategy. Mm-hmm. And he knew how to get out and connect with the people. And from then, I would have never known years later that he would have become not only a good friend, but a good partner in the fight on ground here in the state of South Carolina with me. Brandon is everything that we need. I really want to speak to the younger generation. I am a millennial. I am 31 years old. I was born and raised here in Mullins, South Carolina, and I am probably one of the select few that has really had the opportunity to leave this area and to really do something positive. But that was because I had people that really instilled in me in leadership from our city council, our mayor, and his people who want to mentor me. But we have to have people like that who have the same compassion and the same heart from the state level as well, to give us an opportunity as young Democrats to really mobilize across the state. A lot of people don't even realize next year over 80 million Gen Z will be qualified and eligible to vote in 2024 elections. And if we don't have the proper representation from the chair, the first vice chair, the second vice chair, and the third vice chair as the head of the Democratic Party in the state, guess what? Their vote won't even matter, because they're going to do all the tactics they can to steal those votes from those young Democratic voters. So we need new leadership that's going to go out into the communities, the rural communities, as well as the bigger cities, and really just activate the people and let them know you have a team that is ready to not only mobilize, but to also help groom you guys for the next generation as well. We need, I believe that Brandon and his team is going to bring in strategy to help train the next generation after him. I don't foresee him being a person to hold this role for a long time. I foresee him seeing and picking somebody and identifying to be his successor. And that's what we need. So I encourage everyone who's on this live, who's watching, or come down here, meet this amazing, amazing person and the group of young ladies, powerhouse young ladies. Behind him, and let's do what's right, and let's change the face and move forward for what is right for the state of South Carolina.
Our next speaker was newly elected in 2022. Please welcome Councilwoman LaShonda Neesmith.
What's up, Mullins? How y'all doing? Let me tell you, I'm excited to be here. You know, Florence is next door, and I just been elected to Florence, but y'all know, whole South Carolina is everywhere, everything to me. We've been all over the state. You know, one thing I can say about Brandon Upson. That's my chairman, first of all, y'all. Okay. That is my chairman. I don't call him nothing but my chairman. And though he is currently my Black Caucus chairman, he is getting ready to be my South Carolina State Democratic Party chairman. You know, and one thing I can say about Brandon know how to pick some strong women. Look at his wife. Look at his slates. Like, he is the bomb, and he uplifts women, and especially black women, and I love Brandon for that, because this is what we need. We know black women have been ignored in this state for years. Yes. But Brandon, you saw us, and we thank you. You understand that these rural elections matter, because they do. Not many chairmen, our state party chairs, or our Democratic Party leaders understand that rural elections matter. And if we're going to take over the state, we got to do it by these rural elections. Yes. We got to get involved. And Brandon's not afraid to roll up his sleeves and get to work. He may look like he got on a suit, but he will walk up and down the streets, okay? You know what I mean? He ain't afraid. And we need somebody who's going to get out in these trenches with us. Because, again, we are missing so many black voters. But let me tell you what he did with the Black Caucus. Brandon, you took the Black Caucus, turned it around, made it official, made it powerful. Mm-hmm. We have the largest number, and that's because of Brandon and his leadership. If you can do the Black Caucus like this, where we represent over 600, 800,000 black voters, imagine what you could do for this entire state. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Brandon will do for this entire state, and especially for the Democrats. Brandon, you wholeheartedly have my support. I endorse Brandon Upson. Yes.
Our next speaker is your candidate for third vice chair please welcome Erica Sampson.
Hello, glad to be here. First time here, you guys represent. Okay. Okay. See some shine over there. They walk through. I was like, okay, somebody. But now, let me introduce myself. First and foremost, thank you for allowing me to share this space with you. Thank you for coming here and just listening to my vision, my heart as it extended out to you guys. Many of you know me as Erica Sampson, but I also go by other names. I am your neighbor. I am the person on the stoop, kicking back, kicking it up, and talking about what's going on down the street. We all live in the neighbor's house because that's the type of person I am in the community. I am the single mother who calls upon the ancestors to watch my babies as they simply go to school. Please cover them in light and love and have them return the same way they left out.
Yes. Amen.
I am the concerned citizen who attends the city council meetings, the county council meetings. I'm sitting in the audience listening. I'm sitting at the podium testifying because I need somebody to hear me out. I need somebody to know I am the person at that address who has the issues on the topic, okay? Mm-hmm. I am the advocate who laces up her boots. So I told Brandon the other day, sometimes I'm advocating them across because the laces hold me back, okay? I can't get the shoes on quick enough, okay? I'm down the street, I'm shaking hands, I'm marching, I'm fighting for everything that South Carolina should and represent. It should represent us. It should represent our people. It should represent all the people. Black, white, Hispanic, they, them, she, her. It's everybody on that ballot. All the issues we are voting for affects everybody. We are not a one-size-fits-all state. We got to stop thinking that way. We got to lead up and thinking, thank you for wanting that. And most importantly, I am running to be your third vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. So with my role as your third vice chair, I am running to be the youth engagement. My experience is already with the youth engagement. In the Low Country, I am the chair of the Low Country Young Democrats. I represent Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester. I am already out there talking. I'm already out there recruiting. We do a thing called Low Country in the Streets. We literally go in the street, whoever is walking by, we gonna stop you. And we gonna ask you, do you know when the next election is? We show them a picture of 10 people on the paper. Can you name one person? We even offer them names. I'm gonna give you 3 names. Can you point to the person I am even naming? These are things that I am advocating for because what's on the ballot, once again, represents what is going on in your community. You gotta be educated. You gotta know what's happening. Otherwise, somebody is gonna make that decision for you. Right. That's what we don't want. And by all means, check it out because it's funny because half the time, they don't know the answers. But by the time they leave, my question is, are you registered to vote?
Okay.
Can I help you with that? Mm-hmm. Do you got time? Look, I'm a technology person. Pull out your phone. Mm-hmm. You ain't even got to do pencil and paper. I'm going to help you right now. But that's my role because all of us have a role in this, and mine is to target the 18 to 40-year-olds. Because once again, we got to have conversations that involve the youth at the table because they are the future. They got to be engaged in the conversations because the youth is the next generation, right? Mm-hmm. Also, the importance of the youth being involved is because I call them late bloomers. Sometimes they're late to the game, they don't know what's going on. And then when you get in politics, you get overwhelmed by the big words, the people who are seasoned, and it's like, no, don't be scared. Come pull up a chair, come ask a question. And that's basically what I do. Otherwise, y'all gonna get a couple George Santos on your ballot. Okay. You don't want that. But you know, it's a problem when either Republicans are assaulted by the lies. I told you had 5 lies max, not 20. Like, what's going on? And what he's gonna do is try to pass it to the Democrats, and we're gonna pass it right to the independents. Because we don't want them either. We don't want them either. But it's important to know who is representing you. And most importantly, it's important to know, or it's important to make sure that these persons are earning your votes. Because we have a phrase in my household, which I'm sure y'all know, not all skin folks are kin folks. Okay, so you can't just let anybody represent you. You got to make sure not only are you telling me your morals and values, you're showing me your morals and values. Okay?
Amen.
And I say all the time, can I walk around? Sorry, I can't stay still. And I say all the time, I may not get that policy that I really wanted to, but let me tell you, that person had to work really hard to not get it passed, or to not have me help with the passing.
Right.
And that's how we have to be. We got to ask questions. We got to make sure that before that bill is passed, that it is something that it agrees with our soul. It is something that's going to help the community. It is something that is going to help the next generation, because we're trying to set them up for success, not failure.
That's right. Thank you.
Please welcome your candidate for second vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, Melina Rodelo.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, so after listening to these wonderful women, I'm just like very intimidated, even though like I was just talking to everyone in here, and I felt personally attacked by Erica's comment, like 40, and I'm like, okay, never mind, I'm 43. So thank you so very much for coming out and seeing us today, and just basically getting to know us a little bit more, right? My name is Melina Rodelo, and I'm running to be your second vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. So one of the things that I really want to tell people about myself is a little bit about kind of, the big things that are the most important to me. Of course, I am a mom, I am a wife. My husband and I are actually going to be married 25 years in March, so, at least somebody likes me, right?
Yeah.
Poor guy, I think I changed him to something there, but no, we have two wonderful children together. And they have been absolutely my motivation, my sister who I also helped raise, and they continue to make me a better person every day. I have been lucky enough to be able to just have kind of a very unique upbringing. I'm the daughter of immigrant parents who came to the United States looking for a better, just a better life, right? And as so many of us, we are also underprivileged. We grew up with many, many different obstacles and personal tragedies that one way or another has contributed to being me. So one of the things that I do want to tell young people is that we may go through things, right? Some things are way out of our control, but we can all let these things define us. Even at my lowest, I always try to contribute some way, somehow to our community. And I did that through just, learning, going to school, and continuing education. I remember when my children were very, very young, I actually started going back to school, and one of the things that I did was actually tutor other moms just to make sure that they were getting their GED, and that they knew how to go to Tri-County Technical College. And I would take them into the office and come on, let's go find some resources for you, right? And so I was able to actually transfer out of there and become a financial accountant and, an entrepreneur with time. But ultimately, I'm still so very humble, and my love for helping people and just being an activist independently has just, paved the way to just me being very, very involved. A few years back, about 10 years actually to be exact, I met Miss Geren in school. And this lady, she put me all over the place. She was like, come here, I want to show you this. And, what do you think about that? And she ended up taking me to D.C. with a bunch of groups of Democrats. And ever since then, I've been very, very active. But I think that it always starts with someone who actually believes in you and someone who sees potential in you, And you just, you just rise to the occasion, you just commit to it, and you just become the best that you possibly can be. Now, me personally, I know that I'm committed to coming here and listening to you guys and trying to strategize, but of course, Brandon is a man, right? He's gonna have a bigger plan than me. So I'm just gonna be here listening, communicating with everyone, trying to bring our generations together and our cultures together. I know that there is a very, very low turnout for Hispanics too. And a lot of it has to do with how they've been groomed into believing that They are nobody, and we were just like, you should be thankful to be here, and your voice is not going to really matter, and your vote is not really going to count. And so what I really want to show them and tell them is that it does, and it matters. And as soon as you believe that there is no change coming when you're trying to advocate for yourself and your family and friends, that's when they actually win, right? And we're not going to do that. So Brandon has, amazing, an amazing idea. And when I hear him and when I hear Miss Mary, when I'm working with Erica and we're all getting together and just feeding off of the energy of one another, we know that collectively we have an incredible power that is not from us, but it comes from all of you, right? So we want to continue to work together, continue to unite our democratic voices, and make sure that we work together, make sure that we bring attention to counties that actually need it. We don't want them to be just passed through or overseen, right? We want to continue to build everything, and I think that we can do it. So forward together, right? It's been my pleasure to be here. I am Melina Rodelo, but right now I want to introduce you to the candidate of the first vice chair, Miss Mary Geren. I already cleaned it for you. I am prepared.
All right, y'all, I'm going off script. I got permission. Oh, wow. This is the first time I've been in Marion. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for welcoming us. And look at all the beautiful ladies in the room. I see. What's your name, my dear? Dominic and Brandon, surrounded by gorgeous ladies. So, we came to the right place, right? So I'm Mary Geren, and it is my honor to run alongside my brother, my hero, even though he's a little bit younger than me, Brandon Upson, for first vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. Brandon and I have been on this journey for a minute, and we have worked together on some amazing projects over the last few years. And this is something I can tell you about him, is that I've not met a harder worker, anyone with a bigger heart, who is like you. What was your name again?
Kelly.
Kelly. He got the numbers. He knows. He's bringing all the receipts. He knows. And so smart and just such an inspiration, that beautiful family. It's been an honor for me just to know Brandon. And these ladies here, okay? And Melina, we did meet a time ago when I used to be an educator. I taught English at Clemson University and Tri-County Tech for a total of 15 years. Tri-County was really the place that got me politically plugged in, because I advised the college Democrats, and it was just a more opening place for me. But before that, I was that dirt poor kid growing up in Georgia, the Red Hills of Georgia, Northeast Georgia. I went to high school in Elberton. Who knows? Granite capital of the world. Come on, y'all. Come on, somebody. But my daddy worked in the rock quarry, and he worked really hard. But there were 7 of us total in the family. And sometimes it just wasn't enough, even 70 hours a week, So we struggled on occasion with, we were always on free or reduced lunch. And if you're of my generation, you know what that meant back then. They called you out in the classroom. Free, everybody knew. And food stamps, that kind of thing. But we had what we needed, but we needed a little help. And as the youngest of the 5 kids, I don't know what was different. I can't tell you, except that God's grace, He laid on my heart this insatiable desire to learn. Learn. So education is what saved my life. And honestly, we were talking about this earlier. Brandon and I were talking about this. In my family, my immediate family of 7,
no one graduated high school but me. But then in my extended family on my dad's side, I had like 25 cousins. Y'all know we got all the cousins. The only one to go to college. And so I felt this calling on my life for a long time that not to brag, it's not like that. It's like, okay, girl, I'm picking you. What you gonna do with it, you know? And my daddy just passed away back in April, and one of the last things he told me, and I was talking to him about our nephew, I was like, oh, Tyler's so smart, but he's still sitting at home, not doing anything. Daddy was like, what good is it if you don't use it?
Yeah.
And faith without works is what?
Yeah.
So that's my story, and just I went into education to give back. It was an amazing career, and then I ran for Congress. I lost. Ran up there. I live in Anderson in the ruby reddest district, I swear, of the whole state, against Jeff Duncan. Y'all. But despite not winning, I don't want to say losing.
You were outnumbered.
But what we started was this movement.
Right.
You know, that district, District 3, is huge. There are 11 counties in that one, from Oconee all the way down to Saluda. Like it's huge. And for a year and a half, I traveled those counties, and we started a movement in which people were like, you know what? We lost this time, but we're gonna keep going and keep going and keep going.
That's right.
And so then I'm like, what am I gonna do? And so in Anderson County, where I live, I'm now the executive director of that county party. And I think there are 3 counties now that have an executive director in South Carolina. But this is something that was different. And we're like trying it. It works, y'all, because we have been, our little bitty county up there, y'all, if they're watching, oh my gosh, Anderson County Democrats have been kicking ass for a couple years now. But what we learned was it's about our community. Yes, every couple years we have an election, right? We need your money, we need your vote. But if we disappear after that, you're not building community.
Right.
You're not. And so what we're going to do, because we win, y'all know all day long we're winning.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is we're going to focus on our county parties and communicating better with them, but also helping them, giving them the resources that they need to succeed. Starting from the ground up. Brandon's going to talk about building infrastructure. Y'all, we need a bench. We need a bench, okay? And part of the problem that we've had is not having trained candidates or trained county parties, you know, to represent us. We're going to start from the ground up, and then we're also going to continue. Y'all remember, those of you who've been around for a while will remember Democrats Care. Anybody remember that? Jamie Harrison started that. And I was one of the first regional directors of Democrats Care. Anderson County still adheres to this. We probably had like 6 or 7 service projects last year. What that is going out and saying, you know what, we do this anyway, but y'all need to know, we care. We're going to be in this community even when we don't need your vote or your money, okay? We're going to be reaching out. And the other thing that's been on my heart this entire campaign is this big tent party. We like to think we're a big tent party, don't we? In South Carolina, not so much. And Melina is an example. She's not an entrenched politician. And she was worried about that. I said, that's what you bring to the table. You are a fresh face that we brought in, who then you're going to bring in all of your family and your friends. How are we going to grow or win otherwise? Right. We keep kicking people out the tent, and we need to be welcoming them in. Come on. I know y'all went to some tent revival. I know I did. Y'all went to tent revival. In the summer, so hot. Oh my gosh, it was so hot. And my daddy's like, yes, 7 nights in a row. And I'm like, really? But I'm going to tell you what happened was we welcomed everyone. The point was to pack out that tent every night. And I'm talking about it didn't matter if they were black, white, old, young, gay, straight, felon, atheist, Christian. Get them, the idea was get them inside. You get them inside, then you show them that you see them and you love them. And that's the key. And y'all, the Democratic Party in South Carolina has not been doing that. No. And I am ready for a big tent revival, are y'all? Yeah. It is time. So together we are going to move South Carolina forward. Yeah. My name is Marion Geren. I will be your next first vice chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's Brandon. Okay, so Brandon's got a special mic. All right.
Turn it on.
You gotta turn it on, Brandon. As I said, this man is my brother and my hero. And I have not witnessed, and politics is hard. Y'all know it's hard. I don't know how he does it. He's everywhere. I'd be like, you on the road, where you going now? But Brandon Upson is going to be the next chair of the South Carolina.
All right. How y'all doing? Oh, man. Thank y'all. Kelly did this earlier, but I got to do it too. Fired up?
Ready to go!
Fired up?
Ready to go!
All right. And this time when I say fired up, y'all say ready to win. Fired up?
Ready to win!
Fired up?
Ready to win!
Because we got to have that energy, y'all. You know, I remember being in church growing up. Mary and I both are PKs, but my grandfather was a pastor in the Church of God in Christ. And if you sat down too quiet, if you thought you was going to be a little too, as he would say, sedity, he would say, tell the musicians, let's set the tone. let's ramp it up here. And that always ushered in the spirit. You know, once you start to clap, once you start to make some noise, once you start to rustle up those bones of yours, things will start to get moving, right? And that's what it takes. That friction, you need friction to make fire, right? So I want to get started by first giving honor to God for making this moment possible. First and foremost. Next, I got to thank my wife, because if she didn't allow me to do this, this wouldn't be possible for me. And today is actually her birthday. So she definitely gave me a pass. And I tried to make the first half of this day glorious. But we're celebrating on Saturday. But also I got to thank these amazing women who have joined me here. And y'all, this is history. Y'all watching history in the making. Couple things about our slate here. So when I'm elected, I'll be the second African American chair of our South Carolina Democratic Party in history. Wow. When we win, Melina will be the very first person of Hispanic or Latin descent to ever serve in our state party's leadership. And when we win, Erica will be the first African-American woman to ever serve as third-party chair in the Democratic Party. So this is history. And then when we win, Marion will be the shortest vice chair.
She'll be the feistiest.
You'll definitely be the feistiest in history. We're going to bring our crate so she can stand up. But y'all, I could not imagine doing this without this team here. And y'all see I got my notes, and I only got 2 things on here. I want to remind y'all about the history here. but I also wanted to let you know what I've done. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah.
What have you done? When you enter the gates of heaven, they're going to weigh what you've done before they say, enter in, my good and what?
Faithful servant.
Before you can get a job, that person is going to ask you, what have you done?
That's right.
Before they give you the job. Even if you are courting someone or somebody's courting you. And at the end of the day, before you say yes, you're going to think about what has he done. And at the end of the day, that body of work, that track record means something. Not the words, not the graphics on a piece of literature, not an endorsement from a congressman. It is your track record. And I am standing here 10 toes down on mine. And I'm going to share some of it with you because somebody mentioned the other day, is he seasoned enough? Now, I didn't get these gray hairs just by sitting at home, right? I may be 37, but this comes from hard work in these trenches on the ground. So I'm from Aiken, South Carolina, born and raised. The oldest, second oldest of 6 with my father, oldest of 2 with my mother. My next youngest brother is only a couple months younger than me. So my daddy was a Rolling Stone. All right. Papa been rolling since rolling was rolling. And, you know, we grew up in a big family. I had 10 uncles. You know, my mom is number 7 on her side of the family. You know, and we grew up not having a lot. In Aiken, we lived on this street we call Horry Street. When I went to Horry County, they corrected me. You don't say that. It's Horry, right? But in Aiken, we call it Horry Street. Yeah. But in that little house, that 3-bedroom little shack that we lived in, it was at times 8, 9, and 10 of us. Because my grandparents made sure that when you needed a place to lay your head, no matter what happened or where you've been, you always had a place called home. And many times, as we know, you can do your best. You can try your hardest. You can dot all your I's and cross all your T's. But every now and again, you got to go back home to get yourself together so that you can go back out into this world and try it again. That is called a refuge, y'all. Right. And so many of our people are still seeking refuge. We are facing some dire times. We got people working in hotels that they can't afford to sleep in, or working in restaurants that they can't afford to eat in. We even got folks working and cleaning up hospitals that they can't afford to get sick and go to. Right here in South Carolina. And how does that tie into the work of the chair of the Democratic Party? Because when Democrats lose, people lose. Right. When Democrats lose, more children go to bed hungry. That's right. More women wake up with less rights than they had when they went to sleep. Yes. And the things that we call our refuge, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those things are put on the chopping block when Republicans are in charge. Yeah. And when Democrats think that the only thing that matters is that election in November, that is when we miss the boat and we lose out. Yes, we do. So the Democratic Party has a very, very important role in this. We have to start positioning ourselves to win again. Yes. So what have I done? At the age of 17, I signed up to join the South Carolina Army National Guard, only because the Marines told me I was too young. So that summer, after convincing my mom to sign my paper, I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and went through basic training, boot camp. Came back, finished high school. My recruiter told me, LaShonda, told my mom, there's no way he's not going to get deployed. I signed up as a nuclear, biological, chemical, and radiological specialist. When I came back after my senior year, my name was number 1 on the deployment list. I went to Iraq, I was 19 years old. While I was there, my job was to clear the IEDs off the side of the road so our transport vehicles and convoys that were supplying our bases could make it through safely. After being there for a while, I already knew I wanted to go Special Forces. I never told my mama that. But I started reclassing. I reclassed as a combat engineer. I trained to become part of a 3-man small kill team and volunteered on over 100 combat missions.
Wow.
While I was in country, I was there from 2005 to 2007. I pulled security for one of their democratic elections. And this is a moment that really changed my life because I saw people risk their lives to vote. In Iraq, if you're gonna vote, you gotta dip your finger in ink and then mark your ballot. So we had to pull security and we were on high alert because that ink don't just wash off your finger. You are stained and marked for as long as that ink is on your finger, and everybody knew it. But still, there were lines as far as the eyes can see of people ready to cast their votes.
Wow.
So then in 2007, when I come home, I found out my uncles aren't even registered to vote. How on earth are we here in a place called America, the greatest country on earth, and we're not participating in that thing called democracy? I even knew then that if you don't vote, you're giving someone else the authority to determine the path of your life and your community.
Yes.
So I went to the county office and got a stack of papers and made sure everybody in my family was registered to vote. And I stay on them to this day. And the Upson family has not missed an election since 2007. My grandma used to say, don't sweep my porch until you sweep yours too, right? So I made sure my porch was clean. And then from there, I started going out and registering other people. Because by this time, I was starting to make my transition from active duty, in my ACUs and BDUs, to now evolving into that soldier in the streets, in my community, connecting the dots, tying my boots up even tighter because we had to go in some of those, what they call in Aiken, the bottom, to go pull those folks out and get them to participate and vote. So after going to college, I went to the College of Charleston. That's where I met my wife. 2010, I get my first job working on a campaign. And I've been volunteering all this time. From 2007 to 2003, I had volunteers stuck on my head because that's all people want to do. Get my free labor. So now I get the opportunity to actually work. And this guy named A. Jenkins is the one who convinced me to take this job. I had 16 credit hours at the College of Charleston, and I agreed to become the regional organizing director all the way over in Horry County, Georgetown County, and Williamsburg County. So I would wake up in the morning, go to class, leave class, run up the road to Georgetown, do all my work there, sleep in supporter housing, wake up in the morning, drive back to go to class, do what I need to do, run back up the road, and at the end of it, my transmission went out. I had put 27,000 miles on my car. And when they tell you I still run this state, it's because that's the work ethic I learned from then. I've been running it since 2010. And I do it because the only way you start a fire is by friction. Didn't I just say that?
Yeah.
You got to put the work in to make things move, to make things happen. And I'm not afraid of that. So in that year, we had one of the most robust grassroots organizations that I've seen in this state ever. I haven't seen it again. We had organizers in every region of the state. We had field offices and satellite offices in every region of the state. We had volunteers galore. Our volunteers made over 1 million phone calls in 2010 and knocked on hundreds of thousands of doors in that year. And guess what happened? Vincent Shaheen came this close to beating Nikki Haley. We haven't come that close again. And folks think he came that close because of who his daddy was. Because his name was Shaheen. No. It was the people in the streets knocking on the door, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, precinct by precinct, organizing, having events, and getting people out to vote. How do we think we can win an election without doing the work? We fast forward a couple years, skip a few, 2020, and we just hit a pandemic. But between 2010 and 2020, I had already worked on nearly 36 political campaigns across the country. I had already amended 3 state constitutions. I had already started an organization to connect my community with the local police officers so that we can negotiate peace and not try to arrest ourselves into peace. I had already started doing the work. People were already calling me for advice for their campaigns or their initiatives all around the country. Tom Steyer had already called me and asked me to help him run for president of the United States. We had already did the need to impeach campaign and got Donald Trump impeached because of that campaign. By 2020, that had already happened for me. I was already recognized with awards and trinkets here and there. I didn't need to do anything else, but in the midst of a pandemic, I started an organization called Amplify Action. And I started it because I realized that in 2017, when Doug Jones got elected, the rest of the world said, wow, black women vote. And not only do black women vote, but they determine elections. So now that pendulum that was all the way on this side swung all the way on this side. But what I noticed was the black man got left out. So people were investing in black women, but then black men weren't talked to. And because of that, a lot of them started voting for who? Donald Trump. So we started an organization to target those black men, to get them civically active, get them civically motivated and educated so that they can become leaders in their community to get more people registered and activated. So we had this audacious goal. We said, we're launching in July. By the deadline, registration deadline in October, we're going to register 110,000 black men. Well, we didn't do it. We registered 30,000 black men. Yes. But, thank you. But when we looked at our numbers, we realized that we also registered over 60,000 black women. So we focused on the black men, and we got the black women. I was like, how does that work? Y'all, it don't take much to get y'all to do the right thing. No. Y'all show up ready. But what it showed me was we are connected in the most intimate, spiritual, and unbreakable way. Right. Black men and black women, the black community. You can't do something for one and not do it for the other. That's right. Because when we come forward, we're going to come together, right? So since then, 2020, now we've registered over 200,000 black men and women, and we've mobilized across Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and a piece of Texas, over 1 million young black voters since 2020. And even better than that, because I know some people run voter registration programs. We see folks do that all the time. They ask you for your money so they can go register somebody to vote. but then they don't tell you how many they registered. They don't even tell you if those people that registered it actually went out and voted. I don't think some people even realize that when you register somebody to vote, you got to follow up with them to make sure they get out and vote. So what we do in Amplify Action, we track every person that we registered. When you register to vote, you have to go through our portal. So we know how to get in contact with you. If we're not knocking on your door, we're hitting you in your text. We're calling you on your phone. We're mailing you in your mailbox. We're finding you on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. But not just us, but our coalition of partners are also investing in mobilizing you. So with that coalition, with that group work, many hands make light work.
That's right.
We're able to get, as of now, our latest figures, about 72% of the people we registered are going out to vote.
Yeah.
We didn't forget about them. We didn't forget about them, and we can't. And, you know, after running Amplify Action for about a year, some folks came and asked me to run for chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party's Black Caucus. I said, Lord, y'all don't leave me alone. I'm already, Monica about to kill me and you. But I said no. Then they came back about a month later. I said no again. Then they came back a couple of days later this time, but with somebody I couldn't say no to. So I sat down and listened to them and heard about what was possible if we organized the Black Caucus within our South Carolina Democratic Party.
Wow.
A party that is made up of 70% African Americans, but only a fraction of us serve in leadership in this party. A party that when we lose elections, Black folks lose the most.
Right.
So how do we change that structural dysfunction, because that's what it is,
Right.
within an organization that's been operating this way for years? How do you do that? Well, you can't just do it from the outside. You can't win a basketball game if you're not in it.
Nope.
Right. So you got to get in the game too. So I said, well, do I have the capacity or the skill set to do this? Because when we first started, it was a whole lot of beef between the Black Caucus and the Democratic Party. The list was only like 50 people. And I said, you know what? I've never been afraid of a fight.
Never. Okay.
I've never been afraid to stand on what I believe is right. No matter who gets upset, I've never been afraid to do the work. So since then, LaShonda, who's my first vice chair, Madam Councilwoman, since taking over the Black Caucus, we have grown this caucus from a list of 50 people to over 250 active members. And so far, about 900 people have signed up to be members of our Black Caucus. We raised over $50,000. We flipped 5 local municipal seats. We've helped over 14, 15 Black women run for office. Last year, we invested over $50,000 into races, collaborating with great partners and co-conspirators to make sure we win these races and do the things that's necessary to move the ball forward. We did that together. We grew this thing not by asking the people that show up at the party meeting, because they're not the ones we need to win. It's the folks outside the bubble. The folks that you see going down the street to the Red Dot store. The folks at the corner, have them doing their ministry.
And Jesus said, like,
those are the folks we need to reach. Because if we're going to be a big tent party, like Mary said, everyone has to be welcome. And not only when you say you're welcome, but you got to show them that they're welcome when they're there. I don't know about y'all, but I've been in this party for about 13 years now, and I've been kicked out about 13 times. But I keep coming back. And every time I come back a little stronger. And I believe it's because there's a divine calling on my life. And there is God working in the midst of everything that we're doing. Because since Saturday, I've seen some glorious things, y'all. Things have been coming together in the most divine and purposeful way. We ain't this smart to do this on our own. You know, we don't have the strength to make it on our own. But even the fact that y'all showed up today is a blessing to what we're trying to accomplish. Because what we're trying to accomplish is restructuring an organization that was built to serve a few. We are trying to expand this thing. Let me try out this thing. We are going to expand this thing so that we're growing a party that has been shrinking.
Amen.
We're going to start winning races in a party that has lost 60 Democratic incumbents in the last 3 years. We're going to raise money in a party that is $110,000 plus in debt. And we're going to start paying the taxes on the headquarters that is 2 years behind on the taxes. We're going to start fixing the things that are broken and stop sweeping it under the rug, because at some point, you're going to have to address the bump that you created before you trip over it and break your neck. We're not playing. And in this race, I know 4 or 5 other people are going to stick their heads out to run, and I'm not going to whack-a-mole them. I'm going to ask them to put their record up. I'm going to ask them to let's speak about the issues and the vision and the plan and not make this thing dirty and personal, because that is something that keeps people out of our party. When they see the mudslinging, why should I even waste my time to be a part of something like that? It is what they call cognitive dissonance.
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 You're trying.
Different word.
Different word.
We keep trying. We keep trying.
But to do one thing and say that you believe another.
That's right.
So if we are fighting and eating our own, fighting each other to the death in our own primaries, but then tiptoeing around the Republicans to the November election, that's cognitive
dissonance. You keep adding that T. Monica corrected you.
But dissonance. Yes. But some people would say it's just foolish. You know? And we got to change it. We actually have to change it. And this is what moving forward together looks like. It looks like us bringing people together, no matter who you are, where you come from, what your stock is, how much money you got in your pocket, what can you do for me right now? That doesn't matter. It's about what can we do together to move this state forward. So we plan on doing all that, but we can't do it alone. We need y'all to join us. I'm personally asking you for your support. I'm asking you, if you're delegates to this convention coming up, for your vote and your support. If you know delegates, to talk to delegates about us. Tell them what you saw, what you believe, what you heard, and what you feel, and why you're supporting this slate of candidates. Yes, I want to become the next chair, but I can't be the next chair and do what I need to do without these amazing women going with me. So when you talk me up, talk them up too. That's right. That's right. And for some of y'all watching, if you can talk Mary up or Erica or Melina, throw my name in there a couple of times too. because we got to do this together, and we can do it together. And I'll just say this last thing, because when I was growing up in my family, I was born just a couple weeks after my great-grandfather passed away. And if y'all are in a family that experienced loss right before the birth or during the birth of a child, you know how the family pours into that baby. I was that baby. And I grew up hearing my family repeatedly say, "You're the one. You are the one." At 3 years old, calling me into the living room to lay hands and pray on my grandfather who was battling alcohol addiction. "You're the one." Even when I was the first one to graduate high school and go to college, they looked back and said, "You're the one." On my way to the military, "You're the one." And I was reading on Saturday, before we did our announcement, the story about David. And when, the prophet came to David's father and was looking for the child that was anointed by God. And the father said, "It must be one of my great sons. Look, he's great. He's my heir." Nope, not him. The next one came. "This one is talented." Nope, not him. The next and the next and the next. And the prophet said, "Surely it's someone else." What? David? The one out there dirty up in the field? The one that tend to the sheep? That David? How in the world? Let's try it. And surely it was. And then you skip a few, and there's this big man named Goliath that comes and intimidates the people and kills the people and brutalizes the people. And soldier after soldier confront him and are killed. And yet this young one, the one, comes up and said, "I'll fight him. I fought bears and wolves and everything to protect my sheep. I'll do it." And then they put the armor on him. And he said, "Nah, this ain't me. This is too bulky. I don't feel like me wearing this false armor." And he looked at the ground and picked up 5 smooth stones and had the audacity to walk out there and challenge this giant, this Goliath. Now we call something when it's bigger than what we can imagine. And all he needed was one. That's right. All he needed was one stone. And he took down Goliath. And I believe and have the audacity to believe in my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my mother when they say, "You're the one." Because what we're facing right now is the Goliath of our day inside the Democratic Party. We're going to take it down and we're going to build it back up so that it works for everyone. Because no one should be overlooked. No one should be cast out. And no stone should be unturned. Because when we move forward together, we can win. And I'll say this last thing because my campaign manager is making sure I stay on time and I wrap it up here. I knew when I got into this race, there was going to be some mudslinging. Because I've seen it. I've run too many campaigns, too many Democratic primaries not to see it. And already, day one, I got mud thrown at me, saying that I don't support black women, saying that, I run Republicans to unseat Democrats. It's all spaghetti on the wall, right? I'm not even going to address the black women part because my mama, I don't just have a black woman as a friend. I came out of a black woman. So I'm not even going to address that. But I did work with one Republican. His name was Joe Boykin in Charleston. And when my mentor, Abe Jenkins, who used to be the political director for the South Carolina Democratic Party, came up and said, "Hey, I got a friend who needs some help. Our community is not being served by the incumbent. The same incumbent that when I was in college, I knocked on doors to get elected. I said, what? How Miss doing that? And he said, well, we, the community in the Sea Islands, need a change. And we believe that he's the one. So I came and helped. Who else helped? 2 former Charleston County Democratic Party chair people helped. The Sea Island Democratic Party, who he was a member of, helped. He's also the board of the Progressive Club that was started by Esau Jenkins, a civil rights legend in Charleston. They helped. And, you know, he lost that race. But then we come back to 2000, that was in 2018, 2022, he decided to do it again. He was considering running as an independent. But I started up his website for him, just because that was an obligation that I had from helping him before. And then I stepped back. Go ahead. I actually supported Millicent Middleton, a black woman who ran in the primary in that race. She didn't win. But Joe ended up winning in the November election as a Republican. I had no part in that race outside of starting his website and helping Millicent.
Exactly.
But yet they want to say that I'm the reason why the Democrat lost because I'm not fooling with that. You know, and this is the last event I'm going to talk about. Because we're focused on issues, vision, and ideas.
That's right.
So, like I said, I want to make sure everybody know we ain't talking about it again.
Amen.
All right? They came to me because I win elections. So we're about to get focused on winning this election. So thank you so much for your time, y'all. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Y'all take questions.
Anybody have any questions? No. Brandon, no questions? Statement. Here you go, hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
Terry Davis, City Council for the City of Mullins. I welcome you here. I don't have a question. I just want to remind you, you said you're on a mission.
Yes, ma'am.
If they stop talking, you're not doing the right thing.
Amen.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. I received that. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or statements? All right, so I'm gonna have a question. You laid a lot on us. When you get elected,
That's right.
what would be your first thing you would do to help Democrats, and really specifically, I'm thinking about Marion County?
Yeah. So the first thing I want to do is, so when we look at this state, and I show Miko a map the other day of the visits of all the presidential candidates in 2020. And you had like 270 in Columbia, 100 and something in Charleston and Greenville. Then you come over here to the whole PD. And you got like 22, 27. It didn't break 50 if you add it all up. We're not invisible. You see me, don't you?
I see it.
We see
The same road you took to get to Charleston, you can take to get here.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
They drive through here.
Right. There's a whole congressional district over here that if you get a majority, you get delegates to the national convention. So why not fight for them? So one of the reasons that doesn't happen is because there's no grassroots infrastructure. None. There's no organizing from the state party level supporting our county, our locals. So the first thing I want to do is create a long-term strategic plan that includes grassroots infrastructure with 365 engagement.
Yes.
Because one, we don't have a plan, so we don't know where we're going. And because we don't know where we're going, we don't have goals or benchmarks to gauge how far we're going and progressing. We don't even have benchmarks for the next election. Honestly, we're first in the nation for the National Democratic Party presidential election, and we don't even have a plan.
Wow. None.
So when all of them start coming here to start campaigning, if we have a primary, how are they going to know where to go?
Right.
What are they going to run on? What information is going to be available to them to adequately address our issues? We don't want them to show up in for the February election and move on and not think about us ever again. What are we going to have left over after that election? Those are questions that need to be answered. Because I'm not going to call names, but we don't have any tangible thing that we can put our hand on that was left over from 2020's election.
That's right.
Lack of planning.
27 candidates.
27 candidates ran. And after that primary, somebody ran and raised over $100 million.
Cold names.
Okay. But because we don't have that plan, there was nothing created to last beyond that November's election. So that's the first thing I need to do. The second thing, if I can say it,
Please.
is the Republicans have done a great job at defining who we are.
That's right.
They are telling people who we are.
Yeah.
And we don't even have a response.
That's right. We don't know who we is. Exactly.
Amen. Thank you.
Because we don't know who we are. That's right.
But it's very important to have a proactive, bold message and a messaging apparatus to continue to communicate out and communicate in and be prepared and positioned to fight back. We have to play offense and defense in a state like South Carolina. Right now, we're barely playing defense, and there's no offensive coordinator in the state.
Yes.
So that's the second thing I want to do is invest in building out our communications apparatus so that we can have a robust communications plan, message to redefine ourselves, that we can track our actions speak louder than our words. We can say, yes, we say we believe in that because you can see what we're doing on the ground. That's how you build a party. That's how you be the type of first in the nation state that we're supposed to be, that we can be. So those are the first two things I'll do.
Love it. Well, thank you. Oh, we got another question came up. Okay.
Okay, my name is Cynthia.
Yes.
I want to know, how will you engage youth and young people as it relates to the upcoming election? What specifically will you do? And how will you intertwine the new technology with the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. The first thing I would do is empower my third vice chair. Because everything you just asked me is what she's already doing, right? How she's built the Low Country Young Dems is part of the playbook that we'll bring into the state party. There's no reason why our young Democrats, our college Democrats, our NAACP Youth and College Division, our NPHC college chapters, like they are operating outside and apart from our Democratic Party. We need to bring them in. We need a youth coalition, a youth committee that helps guide us through the path of engaging more and more young people and creating an environment that's welcoming, nurturing, and developing for those young folks to come in, stay in, grow, hopefully run for office or, advocate for their communities. So that's what I'll do. I'm not going to come in with the answers. I'm going to seek them and put it together so that we can nurture those plans. Thank you. Technology, definitely. So, in that is identifying the technology that's needed to reach folks. It's not just TikTok. It's not just social media. Like those are not silver bullets. But when we have a plan and we identify what our goal is, then we can identify the resources it's going to take to achieve those goals. Yes, social media will be in there, but there could be other technologies like, I can't even say texting because that's fading away quickly, but it might be metaverse events, right?
That's what I'm looking for, sir.
You know, it might be entertainment, right? Yeah, it's all the new things, you know, and being a modern day party that meet people where they are and even where they want to be. Cool. And last thing, because being first in the nation is going to put a big red target on our back, technology wise. We got to upgrade our cybersecurity in this party as well. And we got to start thinking about that right now.
How are you gonna do that? All right, let's give Brandon a round of applause. One more thing.
Brandon, I want to thank you on behalf of the city of Mullins. I recall when Miko first came home and I was active at that time, more active than I am now, and kept telling her, I kept saying to Miko, we need you in Marion County. Very hesitant about making that decision. But when she decided to make that decision, she's been running ever since. I was very impressed when I walked in tonight to see the diversity that's here.
Yes.
My uncle used to say you're sitting on a gold mine. And I encourage you to continue your dream, your desires, your hopes, your vision, and you also. Because it's our time.
Yes, it is.
South Carolina is ready.
Yes, we are.
Now is the time. And just continue. You've been on this road for quite some time, and I'm glad the third time that you were approached, and I know who you were approached by, I'm glad you decided to take it on. And just continue what you're doing. Make sure your message continues to be what it is now. And I'm most certain when we get together as delegates, because that's who's going to make that decision for you.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
When you look in the crowd tonight, you only see a few, but I can guarantee you the few that are here tonight know big numbers that's going to get the word around that needs to get around. So don't doubt who you see here tonight.
That's right.
Because all of these are key people in our county that can make that difference that you're going to need when it's time for that election.
Amen.
I'll be there.
All right.
Well, that's my mentor right there, I'm going to tell you. All right, so if you guys are ready for a true leader to be chairman of the South Carolina Democratic Party, let me hear you say yeah! One more time, let me hear you say yeah! All right. Thank you all so much for coming. Don't disconnect our Facebook, folks. Facebook, I've been watching. Every so often I look down, and it's been 10 people who've been faithfully watching you the whole time. We appreciate your time. We know there's other things you could have did with your time on Facebook right now, and we thank you. In the same way, Ms. Davis has asked everybody in this room to take this message out. If you're on Facebook watching us right now, Ms. Davis is telling you as well. Take this message out. Brandon has told me he will be back.
Yes.
And when he comes back, we need more folk up in this room, all right? All right. Thank you so much. Now Facebook, you go.